In Will to Believe, James mounts a defense for our right to hold beliefs prior to attaining rational evidence. Looking at the psychology of human opinion, James claims that, by necessity, our passional nature must play a role in our decision-making. By passional or willing nature, James means the multitude of social, naturalistic, and developmental forces which motivate our actions. The significance of these claims is James acknowledging our psychological limitations, namely, that there are irrational drives in us and that not all of our decisions can be made on rational grounds. In Allen's Empiricism, Sextus Empiricus lays out the skeptic guidelines in detail. The most important ideas in this text are the skeptic method and the end of the skeptic school. The skeptic's end is mental quietude, or ataraxia, which means tranquility. And they attain this end via the skeptic method, which consists of setting equally probable propositions in opposition to each other and being unable to decide on the matter, withholding judgment. What follows is a state of mental suspension and ultimately quietude. The biggest commonality between James and Sextus is that resistance against The biggest commonality between James and Sextus is their resistance against dogmatism and rational evidence. Neither James nor Sextus assent to absolute truths, and in Will to Believe, James states that the only evident certain truth is the skeptic criterion, the appearances. Dogmatism is the belief that human beings can attain to knowing truth, and that we can be certain that our knowledge is true. James and Sextus oppose dogmatism as a closed-minded philosophy, something that closes off the mind from possible truths and causes perturbedness, as the skeptics will call it, in the thinker. Both philosophers, to some extent, reject the certainty and importance of reason. In some way, human rationality falls short for them, but they differ in their approach to this issue. James and Sextus differ in their posture toward knowledge. The skeptics seek primarily to avoid falsehood at all costs, and James seeks to gain truth. At first glance, these statements seem identical. However, by avoiding falsehood, X, we do not necessarily attain to gaining truth, Z. We could just as easily fall into falsehoods, Y, W, N, P, whatever. James states that while avoiding falsehood is ideal in most situations, there are some questions we face for which we cannot wait for rational evidence prior to answering. James states that while avoiding falsehood is ideal in most situations, there are some questions we face for which we cannot wait for rational evidence prior to answering, and our passional nature must play a role in our decision. Thus, according to James, the skeptic's suspension of judgment is motivated by some prior passional drive to avoid falsehood. Overall, James's philosophy seems to coincide with some of the Pyrrhonian principles. and the skeptics' epistemological investigations seem to be a precursor to James's psychology. This is Sean Mooney, making a passionate decision to end this video and suspending judgment on all school-related matters. Bye.